Now, government says it expects stability in the country's power generation following the signing of a power purchase agreement with Equatorial Guinea. Under the deal, the Central African country will supply Ghana between 150 and 200 million standard cubic feet of natural gas daily. President Akufo-Addo, who brokered the deal during a visit to Equatorial Guinea, is optimistic the arrangement will significantly bring down the cost of power generation and ultimately reduce electricity tariffs. Addressing the media, Energy Minister Boakye Ejako described as unsatisfactory the current arrangement with Nigeria via the West African gas pipeline for the supply of natural gas.
The significance of this gas supply is on the stability or the stable state of power generation in our country. We have for some time relied on Nigeria for the supply of gas from Nigeria Gas transmitted by West African Pipeline Company. The performance of that arrangement has been very unsatisfactory. Out of the 120 million scarves we are supposed to receive on a daily basis, on the best of days, we receive only 30 million scarves, which had a very negative impact on our ability to generate power from gas as its fuel stock. The arrangements with Equatorial Guinea will bring in liquefied natural gas, which can be stored for 21 days and used accordingly. Properly delivered, this will allow Asogli, for example, to expand its power production from about 120 megawatts and scale up all the way to 580 megawatts. Gentlemen of press, this will to a very large extent stabilize further the electricity generation, transmission, and distribution situation that we have.
Mr. Ejako has also been explaining steps taken by government to pay off debts owed Nigeria Gas managers of the West African gas pipeline. Now, in a related development, the severe power crisis between 2012 and 2015 resulted in a 10% fall in productivity. This is according to a survey conducted by the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISER, on 885 small and medium enterprises. At a news conference held at the University of Ghana, the researchers noted that various strategies adopted by these firms were ineffective in mitigating the negative impact of the power outages on their businesses.
The study analyzed the impact of Ghana's 2012 to 2015 power crisis on the productivity of small and medium manufacturing firms. Dr. Charles Aka and Dr. Patrick Isumin presented the findings of the survey conducted in Kumasi, Accra, Sekondi Takoradi, and Tema.
We can give you a sense. Of course, you can already look at 10% of output loss, or 10% of value-added loss. We came up with roughly about 250 million Ghana cedi loss over the 4-year period of the boom. So, but that's for these 885 firms in the manufacturing. There are about 99,000 of such firms, manufacturing firms in the country. So if you want to get the overall national loss, you need to do some further estimating. Want to get a figure. For the 885 firms, they lost about 215 million over the 4 years of the boom.
The researchers also disclosed that the various coping strategies adopted by these SME firms were ineffective in mitigating the devastating effects of the crisis.
In 2015, about 60% of the firms reported that one of the key strategies they use is a generator. The second common strategy you see this particular bar is shifting their operation hours. Now, other strategies that are prominent include using less using electricity or less electricity intensive processes. So that if the production technology requires that they could either use more electricity or use more manual labor, that means that they're going to shift from the use of electricity to manual processes. So we try to say, okay, when we adopt these strategies, the strategies work effectively. Were these strategies effective at mitigating the productivity losses that they were seeing? And in general, what we find is that none of the strategies were effective at fully mitigating the productivity losses. In particular, what we find is that for firms that actually use the generator, the productivity losses were even much worse than those who use other strategies.
Dr. Nida Asante from the Energy Commission recommended both private and government investment in power generation and distribution to ensure sustainability.
Now, in terms of responding to these things, therefore, there were some suggestions about what we need to do in terms of investing, in terms of improving reliability and so on. We've all heard about the very popular or unpopular ECG concession, which has that very same objective in mind, to attract investments into distribution, to improve reliability and to reduce losses. There may be other ways, but that's the one that has been chosen. There's certainly a lot of work going into ensuring that the financial solvency of the sector is restored. You've heard about the bond that is being sought. You've heard about power plants that are being built as we speak.
Maxwell Amofia for Joy News.
Member of Parliament for Assin South and member of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, Reverend John Intim Fojo, is leading a campaign to mobilize his colleague MPs to, as he put it, resist any external pressure to get Ghana to legalize homosexuality. Declaring his avowed stance against the practice at a news conference on Wednesday, Reverend Fojo, who is also chairman of the Ghana-Canada Parliamentary Friendship Association, pointed out that the act goes contrary to his deepest convictions and principles as a Christian. His comments follow reports some 8 Ghanaian men in Canada have petitioned the Canadian government to use its diplomatic clout to promote the legalization of homosexuality in Ghana. Describing the action of the group as a demonic agenda, Reverend Fojo said, although the world is evolving, it is important for Ghanaians to safeguard the values and morals that fundamentally define their identity and existence.
In the constitutional framework of Ghana, not only are the practices of homosexuality, lesbianism, and bestiality unedifying, they are fundamentally unlawful. Whereas it is an undeniable fact that we live in a world, a society that keeps evolving, it is of utmost importance that we as a people and a nation do everything possible to safeguard the values and morals that fundamentally define and determine our identity and existence. That some jurisdictions recognize certain way of life as acceptable standard, however obscene and immoral they might be, does not make it acceptable in another jurisdiction. Globalization is purposed to augment the strengths and values of nation states, certainly not meant to compromise the cultural and moral values therein. I hereby, openly and unequivocally declare my firm position against the views of the members of an advocacy group who on Thursday, August 17, 2017, sought to canvass support from certain powerful persons and institutions in Canada to put pressure on Ghana to decriminalize homosexuality. In furtherance of their demonic agenda, it is alleged that a group of 8 men had embarked on soliciting signatures ostensibly to put pressure on Ghana to decriminalize homosexuality. I humbly call on all members of Parliament to remain resolute in defense of our Constitution and resist strongly any pressure that may arise for potential compromise. Let us stand steadfast and uphold godly legislation. I hereby solicit the unfailing prayers and support of all religious leaders, traditional rulers, the media, to ensure that godliness prevails in our most cherished society.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin, the Environmental Protection Agency has described as misleading claims by Extreme Cubic, the company seeking to prospect for bauxite at Nyinehini in the Ashanti region, that it has been granted a permit to begin its operations.
We gave them an environmental permit. Then there were some conditions that were supposed to be adhered to.
Now, residents of the Nyinehini community are demanding a prosecution of the company's officials for their misleading claims. Also in the bulletin, Joy News has obtained a copy of a controversial multi-million-dollar contract awarded by the Social Security and National Insurance Trust SNIT for the supply of ICT infrastructure. A contract the current management is interrogating on suspicion it may be bloated. Stay tuned, we'll be back with that and more. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, Joy News has obtained a copy of a contract awarded by the Social Security and National Insurance Trust SNIT for the supply of ICT infrastructure, which has, in the last few days, attracted considerable controversy. The contract, among other things, is to improve SNIT's operating processes by establishing a network to connect all of its offices across the country. Concerns have been raised about the cost of the project, considering the meager pensions paid SNIT contributors. Now, the current Director General of SNIT, Dr. John Ofori Tenkrang, says the company has ordered an audit of the contract worth $66 million.
If you hire somebody to manage your affairs, you're going to have to judge the person on how he performs. To be able to know how the person performed, you have to be able to establish a baseline as where the person started. And then once you draw that line, then any ups or downs from there is attributable to that person. And so this audit is a baseline audit. It is not a forensic audit. And so on that score, I'm very confident to tell you that it is not a political witch hunt.
How much is this auditing going to cost the SNIT?
I think, and the number was around about 500,000 Ghana cedis, thereabouts. Thereabouts. It's between 500,000 and maybe 550,000. I don't have the exact number.
Okay. Even though the chairman mentioned, but I couldn't capture it very well, he did mention that the period under review. I want to find out is it from 2016? Which period under review are we talking about?
Okay, so we asked PwC to establish the baseline as at March 31st, 2017. So that means they can go back as far as they need to be able to do that.
So it could be since the establishment of the SNIT.
I mean, in theoretically, right? Okay. Because, SNIT's assets, have accrued since its establishment. But, every year there are, audits. We have auditors, they give accounts and so on and so forth. So you may not need to go by that far because you have to rely on certain financial statements and things like that. But in terms of things that are recent happenings, then to the extent that you cannot quantify its effect, or maybe its effects have not been fully crystallized, then they would have to look into it and try and put a judgment on what those things are with respect to the balance sheet.
Okay, you did mention some 4 key areas, which is HR, finance, ICT, and one other which I couldn't recall immediately. But I want to find out, are you doing this audit into your finance investments like the banks, the insurance, and those other companies?
Yes, as we do this audit too, one of the terms of reference is that they should also give us some benchmarks and also recommend some best practices. So let's talk about finance. We have an investment portfolio. Any prudent asset manager is supposed to make sure that their portfolio is well diversified so that you can withstand the shocks that they
So now, a former Director General of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, Ernest Thompson, has mounted a strong defense of the contract giving out under his watch, saying the complex nature of the system makes the $66 million worthwhile. Now, Joy News, as I indicated earlier, has obtained a copy of this contract and want to appreciate or come to understand what exactly is in this contract that makes it $66 million. Raymond Akwa has joined me in the studio with the various contracts. Now, Raymond, what exactly is this, or what is the scope of this contract? For which reason SNIT is having to cough up some $66 million for it?
Okay, so the details of the scope is contained in the OBS project closure report, and the report indicates that in phase 1, they will do employer and member registration, 2, employer and member re-enrollment, and employer member update, biometric system and smart cards production, contact center implementation, and document management. The phase 2 will have to do with contributions and receipts management, compliance enforcement, benefits administration, identity management, and smart card and biometric system web portal systems development. Reporting and analysis tool, that's business intelligence tools, will also be developed for them. And document imaging system, which is the workflow and form capture, will also be developed for SNIT. And self-service information kiosks will also be developed. Indeed, the final element of the phase 2 says interface to internal systems, which are financial, HR, and fund transfer, will also be developed for SNIT, and also external entities, including the NHIA, banks, and the NIA. So this is the scope of this particular duty.
Okay.
So softwares will be developed, hardwares will be procured, systems will be put in place in all the 55 units of SNIT across the country.
Okay, so that brings some clarity to it, because initially when this story came out, it was suggested that SNIT was going to procure software that was $66 million.
Yeah.
It turns out that it's not just software, but some hardware, and there's various components.
Certainly.
Do we have any cost factors
Very
on
much
the
so.
various components?
The contract document for procurement, which is the document I'm actually looking at now, which says the operational business unit for Social Security Pension Administration, design, supply, implementation, service, and SLA between the SNIT and the Perfect Business Systems Limited, which is a Ghanaian company, which is partnering Silver Lake Structure Services Limited, which is actually from Malaysia. This is the contract detail. It says here that the agreement was made on the 15th of November 2012 between SNIT and this grouping for, and it states the amounts, whereas the purchaser invited tenders for the procurement of operational business suites for Social Security Pension Administration and has accepted a tender by the supplier at the sum of $34,11,914,000.21, inclusive of contingent amount and VAT NHIL. The breakdown says this way: Pension Administration Solution item, $6.750 million will be used for that, or actually it was supposed to be the contract sum for that.
Come again on that figure.
Pension Administration Solution, $6.7 million. It
doesn't break it down whether this is software or...
Yes, it says solutions. It could be software and a setup to deliver that.
Right, next time.
And mobile registration workstations, $685,000 for that. Desktop registration workstations, $420,000. Then biometric solutions, $4,050,000. Smart cards, $1.6 million. And card printers, $180,000. Card consumables is $76,000. Information kiosks, self-service is actually $72,000. And call center software and hardware is $1.342747 million. Card printing management software, and in this case it mentions the software specifically. Right. This is $210,000. And the portal solutions, which is $1.5 million. Business intelligence is $250,000. Document imaging is $1 million. Workflow and form processing is $500,000. Now, iSeries systems hardware and software is $529,694. And enterprise service bus is $1 million. The final item actually put on this particular list is the implementation and service and training, which is $6.2 million. As it indicated, this is inclusive of contingency amount and VAT NHIL. These are the contingencies you are looking at. So the total, subtotal of what I just gave you is the $26,365,824.97. contingency, 14% contingency. This is 3.691215.50 million US dollars.
All right.
And VAT and NHIO, 15% is also inclusive in this particular price.
So at the end of it all, we have a total of about $34 million. Now we're told that there are variations that have, as a result of which we're looking at the $66 million project now. What are these variations?
First and foremost, let's look at what it says about the needed variations. And this is in the project closure report. The appendix gives the detail of the variations. The first change order, and the change orders are detailed here. The first one is for a change order supply and installation of 2 HP DL385P Gen 8 servers. And this is on September 24th.
Essentially 2 servers.
Yes.
Okay.
And we are looking at exactly 28,500 change. We were not told what the previous price was. But the change order is affecting a change for this particular server at 28,000. The next change order is for 2.541 million, which is specifically for the supply and installation of specified hardware and upgrade of servers. And this happened on October 17, 2013.
Okay.
So the second one, 2.5. Now, the third one is 1.2 million, and for a couple of things, which altogether are the hardware requirements for the digitization of the critical legacy documents.
Okay.
This is November 14 we are looking at in 2013. Now, when you move on to perhaps the biggest of all of the changes in this case, it is 10,223,638.75. And this is specifically related to the, design, supply, services, and SLA. Specifically, it says mobile biometric units change, and also smart card readers with fingerprint sensors, HP mobile desktop 150 printer, and quantities about 30 of them. The first one is 50, the second one 30, and the smart card readers with fingerprints are 150.
Okay. So now, there are quite a number of items making up this $10 million variation.
Which is the biggest and the final change item. All of this put together is 13.7 million. Assuming we add this 13.7 million to the already determined 34 million, we are looking at 41. So, what we I'm trying to say?
More like 48.
48, yes. This is still less than the 66 million.
So there has to be some explanation for this other.
The explanation could be found possibly in the contract document in a section C, which says the contract price. And it states that the contract price shall be the amount specified in the contract form, except for maintenance costs, which are quoted as maximum cost with appropriate price escalations factored in, and which may vary downwards from the prices quoted in the maintenance cost schedule under supplemental agreements in accordance with the GCC Clause 8. The contract price shall be a firm lump sum, not subject to any alteration, except as a result of the change order, which we just read some of them, pursuant to GCC Clause 33, in accordance with any price adjustment formula specified in the main contract. And also state finally that the contract price of individual products and services are as listed in the price schedules and may be amended during the contract execution and to adhere to the terms detailed in this document. So this may be a window, a room for the escalation that we've seen from the 48 accounted for in these documents to the 66 that is in reality the case.
Okay, thank you very much, Raymond. And it's important that we delve into this issue because we're talking about SNIT's pension contributions here, and we all know how much SNIT contributors take or pensioners take at the end of the day. Well, we're not suggesting anything untoward. All we're doing is just sharing with you some details we found in this contract, which is worth $66 million, because there are IT experts who look at this contract and believe that it's costing way too much, considering the fact that you could start several software companies with $66 million. And we'll be delving a lot more into this particular contract in the coming days. So you do stay tuned to Joy News. We'll be doing extensive work on this particular contract. But we're not done with the bulletin. We're taking a break for business news, but we have more coming up. We're going to this controversy about the Nyinihini Forest Reserve and the Environmental Protection Agency saying that the claims by Exton Cubic, a company seeking to prospect for bauxite in the forest, is misleading. Their claims that they have obtained the necessary permits, Environmental Protection Agency permits to go in there to begin work. those claims are misleading. Stay tuned. We have that and more coming up in the bulletin. Hi everyone, welcome to Business on Joy News Prime. Now, government says it has no plans of reviewing levies described as nuisance taxes in the 2017 budget. This is assurance from the Deputy Minister of Finance, Kweku Kwarteng, speaking to Joy Business at the 7th National Taxation Conference in Accra. He also said government has given businesses and the private sector room to expand in order to strengthen the economic base of the country. Ebenezer Sabute's report.
Government in the 2017 budget abolished some taxes in order to reduce the burden on businesses and help them expand. Despite its failure to meet revenue targets for the first half of the year, government has no intention of reviewing these tax policy measures. In an interview with Joy Business, Deputy Minister for Finance, Kweku Kwarteng, said government is optimistic the business community will respond positively to various tax cuts.
Value addition has to be a culture. It should be a culture of economic management rather than some reform project that would start and end.
But we don't know that government is struggling to meet revenue targets. When you look at the first half of the year, we are not able to meet our revenue target. Are we re-strategizing the reforms, or are there any refocusing of some of these tax measures so that we can be able to meet the revenue target?
We are determined to pursue the path we are charting. If you give tax reliefs with the aim of supporting businesses, you must have the patience for businesses to respond, to increase economic activity, and to start bringing in the revenue that in the long term you desire. We are not going to tamper or disturb our policy to remove nuisance taxes and to ease the cost of doing business. We are not going to do that in spite of what you call revenue shortfalls. We understand what is happening, and we are patient because we have confidence in the private sector, and we know that they will respond to our tax incentives.
Mr. Kwarteng also revealed the government has begun engaging tax experts and stakeholders to ascertain the impact of the tax reforms introduced in the 2017 budget so far.
It's not a reform activity that is going to start and end. Our quest to make industrialization the center of our economic management strategy is a long-term one. And I think as we improve on the economy, we begin to have new objectives. People acquire different tastes, and the burden will be on government to continually work to meet the aspirations of the people. To that end,
the tax measures implemented since the beginning of the year are, among others, expected to empower the private sector to create jobs and grow the economy. The three-day conference is under the theme Tax Reform, its effect on investments, growth and development.
Now, some local banks have maintained that they would be able to meet any amount proposed as minimum capital requirement. This follows a report that the Bank of Ghana could settle on more than 500 million cedis from the current 120 million as a new capital that every bank must have to do business in the country. Owner of GN Bank, Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum, has indicated to Joy Business his bank can meet the amount being proposed. Another local bank, Heritage, says the 500 million cedis being proposed will not be a problem. Peter Sangbaderi is Deputy MD of Heritage Bank.
Well, the regulator has the right to increase the capital to the level they want. Heritage Bank, we are focused. We met the minimum requirement, even exceeded that. That's 120. We had more than the 120 million. And the banking system, I know, is expecting this increase. Heritage Bank, we are focused. And when the increase does come, we shall ensure we do the right thing by meeting the Bank of Ghana's requirement.
You only have up to 1 year to recapitalize. How prepared is the bank?
The bank is well prepared. We have a number of shareholders. The issue will be taken up by them, and we are confident that they will do what is required of us by the the regulator.
Meanwhile, some banks, distressed banks, Joy Business has been communicating with, are blaming their worsening financial position on government's indebtedness. Some of them are threatening to cut lending to private businesses. We want to move now to some other story we've been following today. Minister of Youth and Sports, Isaac Isiama, has hinted that government would roll out an entrepreneurial volunteer policy geared towards mentoring startup owners to spur faster growth. He spoke at the opening of the International Youth Empowerment Summit in Accra. Kukua Pia was there for Joy Business.
So we're currently at the International Youth Empowerment Summit at the National Theatre, where for 3 days young entrepreneurs will come to learn about leadership skills, branding and life as a whole. Now, what can attendees and participants of the summit benefit from this? We'll find out. The International Youth Empowerment Summit IES 2017, which commenced in Accra on Wednesday, is geared at empowering young entrepreneurs in areas of leadership, entrepreneurship, branding, among others. Speaking to Joy Business, founder of IES Global, Brian Amwating, said it was important for entrepreneurs to hear the experiences from those who have scaled the daunting heights of starting and growing businesses in order for them to learn.
This year, based on the recent entrepreneurship crisis with these banks, it's a very good time for every young entrepreneur to come and listen to the failures of what people have done, so that they can start good businesses and do it. Because trust me, whatever that has happened in this country about these banks, it's not their fault. And they are not failures. These are men that have set the standard that entrepreneurs will look up to them. So this year, I think the IES conference, the entrepreneurship section, is going to help a whole lot of young individuals based on this challenge, because now a whole lot of young people are scared that, okay, so if Amwabin has lost the bank, can I be an entrepreneur? But trust me, this conference is telling people that they have something in them.
Guest speaker and CEO of Christian publication company Caris Group, Brandy Osai Bediakon, urged government to create more policies that make funding innovation for startups more accessible.
A lot of great entrepreneurs are emerging from this nation, and ideas are coming out of this great entrepreneurs. The only challenge is that funding is a catalyst to ideas. A lot of these ideas are dying because there's no access to funds. I mean, when you go to the bank, very, very outrageous interest rates on loans and so on and so forth. But I believe that if government can put some policies in place and make the environment more conducive for entrepreneurs to access funding, we can turn the nation around within a short possible time.
Meanwhile, Minister of Youth and Sports Isaac Isiama has disclosed government plans to pass an entrepreneurial volunteer policy geared at mentoring startup owners to spur faster growth.
We're going to empower the energy and everything to drive the economy towards successful completion. And so the President has tasked me, in collaboration with the Commonwealth Alliance of Youth Entrepreneurs West Africa, to develop a program that will harness your energies, your capacities, to ensure that you are well placed in society. There is a program in place to provide startup capital for young entrepreneurs so that after graduation, they can also do something in terms of business. We are also setting up collaboration with other stakeholders, national entrepreneurial volunteer structure. We believe that we need to have a volunteer corps that will be dedicated to the cause of this country.
An estimated 1,000 youths are expected to be at this year's conference, which features renowned pastors, motivational speakers, politicians and celebrities.
Let's talk technology now, and local app developers now get to benefit from an innovative partnership with Samsung. The electronic and appliances brand, by way of promoting local content, has called on app developers in the country to come forward with their inventions to be integrated into their new product. TV product manager for Electoral Ghana Limited, Benjamin Fifa, spoke to Joy Business at the launch of the new Samsung QLED Smart TV.
We are already discussing for a local content developer to be on our TV platform. Today I introduced the Zip TV app, that we are going to have on our smart television. You can get to have access to content, quality content from the US and Canada, which as of now is the first. Nobody has it, and it's going to be exclusive only on Samsung Smart TVs. And the app developer is Ghanaian. It's a Ghanaian company that we are working with to develop it. And that is the little we can give back to the Ghanaian society, in the sense that we want to promote local content. We want to make sure that what we do in our business positively impacts on the local environment. And that is not all. If you watch the videos that we show today, all the content were local content. We have a video we're calling See Ghana in 1 billion colors. We actually got a local developer to do this for us. So we at Samsung, we are looking within the space in which we operate, and we want to make sure that the society in which we work with benefits from us. So as we are leaders in innovation, we want to also definitely partner with tech leaders and innovators in Ghana to grow our business together.
And that's your business update. There's more news after this breather.
Now, fire has completely razed down a sawmill at Adjesu Estate, a suburb of Koforidua in the eastern region. The fire also destroyed property worth thousands of Ghana cedis. Correspondent Edwin Kofi Sian reports intervention of personnel of the fire service and neighbors prevented the fire from spreading to nearby homes.
The fire, which is reported to have started around 4:30 a.m., touched the entire structure, which is mainly made of wood. The fire also destroyed several equipment, including over 5 heavy-duty sawmill machines, lumber of varying sizes, and furniture. It is unknown what could have sparked it, but some residents believe some combustible stored in the facility may have aided the spread. When Joy News visited the scene, personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service, led by the regional commander, had already arrived and were still trying to extinguish the fire. It took 3 fire tenders to completely douse it. Owner of the sawmill, Ben Bright, tells Joy News he was informed about the outbreak by workers after they noticed smoke billowing from the sawmill.
Unfortunately, at the dawn between 4:30 and 5, these 2 boys who are living within that premises came out and knocked my door and said, "A fire. Master, there's a fire inside the workshop." I said, "Where come from the fire?" So I came out, and what I saw was a severe fire that we cannot do anything about it. So I rather rush and climb to the other side of the shop. So I got closer to where the main switch is. After I was able to put off the fire, we started to call upon the fire service.
Ben Bright laments he could not quantify his losses, though he admits his lifetime investment has been lost.
The stretcher and the machinery and the uncompleted products and the wood and other materials have lost all. So it's billions of things. I have planer, I have sawing, I have bandsaw, I have mortiser, I have sharpener, I have cross cuts, I have shooting, I have spindle molder. If you are a technical man and you are in the wood industry, you understand what I'm trying to say. Some of the items are meant for some people for refurbishing. That one. And aside that, some I knew that I'm doing for others is other. All of these items is lost.
The regional fire commander, Assistant Chief Fire Officer Joseph Ingwa, says the cause of the fire is not readily known. He, however, cautioned the public to be wary of materials that could easily trigger fire.
The investigation is still ongoing. As you saw us talking to the owner of the place, we need to establish so many things before we arrive at the cause. However, it is very an unfortunate thing, and we believe there are lessons that we all should learn. When you know our buildings are that of the class A fire, that's wood, we should always take precautionary measures when we are leaving the place of work. Some are making sure everything is off. Any combustible material around should be kept off the place.
Drivers and commuters on the Oti-Damanko Pasa Road in the Nkwanta North District of the Volta region have expressed dissatisfaction with work on the stretch. According to the commuters, their lives are threatened each time they use the route, especially a section where rocks and gravel have been used to fill a gully to serve as an interim bridge. The construction firm in charge of the project, First Sky Group Limited, has however promised to rectify the defects on the route once the rainy season ends. Kwame Asari's report.
First Sky Group Limited was awarded the contract to construct 12 kilometers out of the 62.3 kilometers Basa Oti-Damanko Road in the Nkwanta North District. The stretch forms Lot 4 of the Eastern Corridor Road. So far, only a little over 40% of work has been done on the road within 11 months. The site manager for First Sky Group Limited, Oliver Akwa, explains.
The 40.5% I initially indicated consists of the earthworks, which is building the road to formation, and then sub-base works. We have some concrete works, which is drains, which have been constructed along the entire stretch at the various built-up areas. And then we have also done some vehicular slabs, clearing and demolition works within the town sections. That has been done. So basically this is contributing to the 40%.
However, a recent occurrence got residents skeptical about the construction firm delivering a quality job. In the course of construction, a small culvert was constructed with an alternative route created for traffic diversion to pave way for an existing culvert to be reinforced to fit the scope of design for the road. However, a torrential rain in the area about a month ago washed away the culvert, which left travelers stranded at both sides of the road. This development frightened drivers and travelers, who compelled First Sky Group Limited to fill that portion with gravels and rocks to allow traffic flow. Nevertheless, some drivers on the road have expressed fear traveling on the interim gravel bridge.
We get frightened anytime we use the bridge. The bridge might cave in if a heavy-duty vehicle with loads travel on it. Truth be told, we are not happy with the state of the bridge. We will be glad if they can quickly reconstruct the bridge because our livelihoods depend on it. We want the contractor to speed up work on the road. We have made so many complaints about this particular stretch. We can't see the work the contractor is doing on the road. We want the contractor to do a good job on the road.
Speaking on the accusations, site manager Oliver Akwa indicated that they are constantly monitoring the situation to avert any misfortune. He assured construction will resume as soon as the rains subside.
So we are still monitoring it carefully, looking at when it will recede. When it recedes, we'll quickly move back, create a diversion as well for them to use, and then we'll construct it back for them. So there's no cause for alarm. They should just exercise patience with us. We'll put it back to track and they can have their road.
The stretch is a major road that connects the Volta region to the northern part of the country and serves as a major route for heavy-duty vehicles transporting food and other commodities.
Now, Exxon Cubic, the company seeking to prospect for bauxite at Yinhi in the Ashanti region, does not have the required permit to do so. The company, according to the Environmental Protection Agency, will therefore be acting illegally if it attempts to enter the area to begin any mining activity. This is a statement released by the Environmental Protection Agency on the back of a standoff between the Ashanti Regional Minister and the Lands and Natural Resources Minister over moves by engineers and planners to enter the Tunnel of Fing Forest on behalf of the company Exxon Cubic, and which has sparked agitation by residents of the community. Now we have on the line with us Angelina Mensah to explain to us why it has become necessary to issue this statement to, as she put it, set the record straight. Thank you for making time to join us, Mrs. Mensah. So I'll first like you to move straight to why it has become necessary for you to issue this statement. You're saying that it is to set the record straight. Now, I'd like to repeat myself, Mrs. Mensah. I'm saying that why has it become necessary for the EPA to issue this statement?
Yes. Good evening.
So explain to us why it has become necessary again to issue this statement.
Thank you very much for this opportunity given to the Environmental Protection Agency. We had to issue this press release because there were media items that was stating that Environmental Protection Agency has given the company permit to mine in the forest reserve.
All right.
Yes,
so
indeed, we did. On 29th March 2016, the company approached the Environmental Protection Agency that they wanted to undertake a prospecting activity in the forest reserve in Nehini in the Ashanti region. We gave them a permit, but the permit came with conditions after they had fulfilled their responsibilities. One of the conditions was that they should engage the Environmental Protection Agency when they were entering the forest, which they did not. They were also supposed to undertake a liability estimate of the environmental degradation of the area and post a reclamation bond. They did not also do that. They were supposed to do that within the 3 months of the issuance of the permit. So we were very surprised when on Monday we heard on the news that they had entered the forest to do prospecting. And therefore, we immediately wrote them that since they have not complied to the conditions we set for them, their activities in the forest is not valid. And we see it as an illegal activity. So that is why we issued a statement now, to clear the air for the general public to understand what is happening.
All right. Now, at what point did you write to Exton Cubic? Because they're indicating, we've spoken with them not too long ago, and they're indicating to us that they haven't received any such communication. And as far as they're concerned, they have the needed permits to go ahead and conduct their mining operations.
Yes, indeed. We did do the letter Monday evening when the news broke. That was around, I think, 8:30. The mining department, one of them had to come to the office to draft the letter. So the letter was dispatched yesterday, that was Tuesday. But notwithstanding, they did not comply to the 3-month moratorium that we gave them. And therefore, we deem that that is not valid. We deem it as an illegal for them to enter the forest.
Now,
and we stand
Mrs.
by our
Mrs.
statement.
Mensah, at this point, from what you're telling us, essentially,
Yes.
it was only Monday that you communicated it to them that their permits had been revoked. So until Monday, they thought they had it all clear to go ahead and do what they had. I would want to believe that probably after the 3 months when you realized that they had not complied, you would have communicated to them immediately.
Yes, indeed, it is true. But if they hadn't entered the forest, we wouldn't also have done the letter. We try to build a trust relationship with our stakeholders, with the developers, and whoever is doing business with the Environmental Protection Agency. And therefore, we have a self-monitoring or self-regulation agenda within our notifications. And therefore, they were supposed to report to us. It's a two-way communication. We cannot run after them. They are very responsible and we trusted them, but they breached the trust that we gave them. And that is why we wrote the letter that we did and issued the press release that we've issued.
They're saying essentially that you're witch hunting them.
Why would EPA do that? EPA is a government entity. We're doing following just due process. We're looking at the legal ramifications, the legal regime. If you do not comply, you need to be held responsible. You know, the word obedience has been underestimated.
Do they have
it's the disobedience of man that has brought us to this point?
All right. Does Exxon Cubic have an opportunity to comply so that you would give them, reissue the permits to them?
Of course. The revocation does not mean they cannot do anything. They are supposed to come to EPA. We have a dialogue, and we guide them as to what they should do. We haven't stopped them.
So they can resume the operations if they comply with your directives?
They can resume the operations of just prospecting and not mining. Prospecting and not mining. That is what we give them.
All right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Angelina Mensah. But that isn't all. The company has to...
Thank you very much, too.
Yeah, the company has several other issues that it has been to deal with. One of them is that the traditional leaders and community members of Ninehine in the Echumampunua district of the Ashanti region are calling for the prosecution of the company officials for perpetrating an illegality. This follows the EPA statement, which says the company has not obtained a permit to undertake the mining of bauxite in the community. Prince Apia filed the following report.
Ninehine community on Sunday stopped what could have been the beginning of bauxite mining in the community without relevant documentation. General Secretary of the Ninehine Town Elders Society, Nana Opon-Pinchine, says the company was sneaking into the community without proper engagement, an act he likens to galamsey.
From the onset, I know that there's some fishy deals going on. You see, because if you follow the Mineral Commission protocols, you see, this man wouldn't have any genuine papers, as far as I'm concerned. Because for the meantime, from the cadastral plan I have from the Mineral Commission, these people have only proposed site, a site they've proposed to come and do something. Meaning that they don't even have prospective lands, not even to talk of mining lease, you see. So if you don't have a lease place, how could you go and work there? I think if they go in more, right, or if they get in more, they will see that even the papers they're talking about that they have, they're all fake.
Ninehine Assemblyman and leader of the youth group, Babayaro Jacob, also backs the call to prosecute the company.
We want to say that now EPA has issued a statement. Now the statement has vindicated us and support us with what we were doing against the company. So this means it has become a criminal issue because we are talking about illegal galamsey here, whereby the most important vision for this president or this current government is to take away illegal mining in the country, to make sure our water bodies restore its importance. So based on this, government of Ghana has to take this issue up.
Earlier, the youth group sent a petition to the president through the district chief executive demanding that Exxon Cubic be made to withdraw all of the equipment it sent to the community within 24 hours, warning it would not accept responsibility for whatever happens to the equipment after the deadline.
It is undeniable fact that the presence of Exxon Cubic Company Limited has created tension in the district. Your Excellency, there is a tension already in the district regarding chieftaincy issues. Therefore, we are appealing to Mr. President to immediately impound and return all the machinery of Exxon Cubic Company Limited until the proper agreement is done by both stakeholders. We therefore emphatically recommend that Exxon Cubic Company Limited machines at the forest must be out of the district within 24 hours from now until proper documentation and agreements are met.
Deputy Planning Officer of the district, Samuel Owusu-Mensah, received the petition on behalf of the president. The residents say they feel vindicated by the EPA's disclaimer, but would want the president to speak to the issue. Meanwhile, the heavy-duty equipment, which had been impounded at the Nyinahene police station, have been moved to the Divisional Police Command at Nkawie.
It is our duty to ensure that the machines and the equipment are secured without anybody creating any or causing any damage to it. So when we assess the situation, we realize that where it was parked wasn't safe, one, and secondly, we also want to make sure that it's as a safety place.
Now, meanwhile, the Minerals Commission has directed Exton Cubic Group Limited to stop any attempts to enter the concession at Nyinahene to undertake any mining operation. That's because the company has failed to fulfill certain obligations required by the Commission. A statement, a letter intercepted by Joy News dated August 23, 2017 and signed by the Commission's Chief Executive, Kweku Adai Enkwibwesiako, reads, now, before undertaking an activity or operation under this mining lease, the company shall obtain the necessary approvals and permits as may be required by law from the Forestry Commission, Water Resources Commission, and the Environmental Protection Agency or any other regulatory body. The validity of your forestry permit is strictly contingent upon your fulfillment of all statutory regulations of the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, Water Resources Commission, WRC, and the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission pertaining to legitimate mining operations in a forest reserve, and this shall be non-negotiable. The mining lease is subject to ratification by Parliament in accordance with Article 2681 of the Constitution and Section 5, Subsection 4 of Act 703. Upon the execution of this mining lease, the company shall submit a certified true copy of the mining lease to the Minister to be laid in Parliament for ratification. You are therefore directed to stop any attempt of entering the concession to undertake any mining operation. And this letter is signed by the Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Commission, Kweku Adai Enkwibwesiako, and is copied to a number of agencies. First, the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, the Director, Environmental Protection Agency, the Executive Secretary, Water Resources Commission, and the Chief Inspector of Mines, Inspectorate Division, Minerals Commission, Accra. So this is a letter from the Minerals Commission to the Chief Executive Officer of Exton Cubic Group Limited, which Joy News has intercepted. Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, has been honored with the 2017 Women of Courage Award. The award is run by the United States Department of State, and it's presented annually to women around the world who have shown leadership, courage, and willingness to sacrifice for others, especially in promoting women's rights. Presenting the award, the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Robert Jackson, affirmed that Charlotte Osei epitomizes the phrase woman of courage. Mr. Jackson, in his speech, praised Charlotte Osei for her bravery before, during, and after the 2016 general elections. He noted the reforms Mrs. Osei undertook at the Commission to guarantee the credibility of the 2016 election and minimize the risk of a disputed outcome.
Civic engagement. For me, Charlotte epitomizes the phrase woman of courage. I'm really pleased that we are taking time to recognize her on behalf of the U.S. government. Mrs. Osei rose to international prominence when she was named the first female chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana. But throughout her life, she's made a name for herself as a trailblazing woman and a defender of democracy. She began her career as a lawyer and law professor, and I have heard a rumor that when she was a very new young lecturer, some of the people in this room were her students. But mind you, she was very young in those days. And she has emerged as one of Ghana's leading minds on constitutional law. Subsequently appointed as the chairperson of the Civic Education Commission, National Commission for Civic Education, let me get that right. She used that post to promote civic engagement and elevate democratic discourse. She launched an official website, increased communication with citizens, and initiated a new program to raise awareness and ignite debates.
Accepting the award, Mrs. Osei said she was totally overwhelmed and humbled by the recognition as she thanked the government of the United States of America. She was, however, keen to note her success as the EC chairperson is owed to the efforts of many.
In receiving an award for courage, I've had to ask myself, what really is courage? And the words of the American actress Shannon Doherty, a recipient of a very similar honor for her courageous fight against cancer, rang true to me. And she said, courage isn't something that comes to you immediately. It's not something that you have fully. Courage is something that you gain and it grows. Courage is facing every day and every obstacle one step at a time. Courage is knowing that fear is not going to find a solution. And so for me, courage really is ignoring your fears and going on, focused on the end goals and the solutions to the challenges. And so I turn my mind to my country. We need solutions. Our society faces two major challenges, in my view. Ignorance and the need for bold leadership at all levels to address our challenges. For those who have been to my office, at the reception, there's a collection of artwork by a young Ghanaian lady called Lauren True, where she highlights the basic needs of the ordinary Ghanaian. Those needs are nothing complex. They're the simple things that will enable them to live a decent and acceptable life. The ordinary Ghanaian wants education. They need clean water, affordable and accessible health care for themselves and their families, opportunities to work and earn a decent living and take care of their families, governance without corruption, peace and stability, a safe and clean environment, and a justice system that works. Nothing fancy, nothing complex.
Aisha, that's it for the bulletin. My name is Ojolai. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.